All right, new details now in the deadly New Orleans truck attack. Sources tell CNN investigators are trying to figure out where the former Army veteran got a rare organic compound used in the explosive devices that he planted along Bourbon Street. And now we're hearing from the half-brother of Shamsud-Din Jabbar, who expressed his shock over the New Year's Day attack.
He grew out his beard and he became more modest in his dressing. Nobody's seen anything like this coming. This is completely out of character for him, you know, these actions. And they're also not any type of representation of what it means to be a Muslim.
CNN's Rafael Romo is following this for us, so we're learning more about the victims as well. What can you tell us?
Yeah, it's a very sad moment, as you can imagine, an emotional moment, too, for the families of those who died. And a royal source has told CNN that a British man killed in the New Orleans terrorist attack was the stepson of a woman who was the nanny of Prince William and Prince Harry. British media reported Edward Pettifer was the stepson of Alexandra Pettifer, formerly known as Tiggy Leg Burke, who served as nanny for both princes for several years and is remembered as someone who supported them after their parents, Charles and Diana, separated, and especially following the death of the Princess of Wales. The royal source has told CNN that King Charles is deeply saddened after learning what happened. Regarding the investigation, CNN has learned that a security firm warned 5 years ago that the Bourbon Street area was especially vulnerable to a vehicular ramming attack. Both the FBI and ATF say the killer set fire to the short-term rental location where he stayed to destroy evidence, including precursors for bomb-making material. The FBI also says the killer intended to use a transmitter found in his truck to set off 2 improvised explosive devices that he had previously placed on Bourbon Street. In an interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper, Louisiana Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser accused New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell of failing to secure Bourbon Street despite requests made years ago.
The mayor and her team failed miserably. You know, today I sent out a video of the balusters in front of Jackson Square, historical Jackson Square. 2 years we've been asking to get them replaced. I didn't let that out to the public because we didn't want people to know you could drive through that pedestrian mall.
And New Orleans Mayor Cantrell said the day after the tragedy that over 10 years ago, the city undertook an infrastructure project that included installing bollards on Bourbon Street, but they would frequently malfunction and had to be replaced. She also said at the time of the attack, there was already a plan in motion to get those bollards replaced.
We were able to build in bollard replacement into our Super Bowl infrastructure package. And because of that, the city of New Orleans has moved forward with that infrastructure that is nearing completion. Bollards were not up because they are near completion, with the expectation of being completed, of course, by Super Bowl.
Meanwhile, the Orleans Parish Coroner released the list of 12 of the 14 people who died in the attack. 7 of the victims were from Louisiana, but there were also others from Alabama, Mississippi, New Jersey, and New York, as well as the British national that we were talking about. And one person, Fred, who remains unidentified.
Oh, okay. Well, let us know when you learn more. Rafael Romo, thank you so much. All right, joining me right now for more on this perspective is former FBI Special Agent Jason Pack. Jason, great that you could be with us. I wonder, as we hear from the brother of the suspect now and how he is described, as our Rafael was just reporting, as having seen changes in his brother, and that, you know, along the way he was being radicalized or had been radicalized. Talk to me about the challenges, not just for family members to identify what's going on and how potentially dangerous this is, but even for law enforcement, for the FBI to be able to know what kind of information to gather about an individual, what may be portrayed publicly, and how to piece it together as to, you know, whether that person's actions can at all be anticipated.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Thanks for having me. Yes, those are some good questions, and that's part of what the FBI and the investigative team are looking into right now. the most visible part of the investigation probably over now. You saw ERT folks on Bourbon Street picking up the pieces. And now as the investigation moves forward, you don't see these visible things. And so people think the FBI and the investigators aren't doing very much. But what they are doing is asking the very same questions you just posed. What was going on in his life before this happened, and when did it start? And so they're out there interviewing probably the same family members that the media is trying to get a hold of too, and putting this comprehensive picture together of just what happened. I think we've known from the investigation so far that there's indications in his life over the past couple of years of some financial difficulties. There's some indications of some personal relationship problems. And so in an act of desperation, you look for somebody who will agree with you. And unfortunately, in this case, it was the ISIS ideology that he found to choose the outlet through.
Interviewing people and, of course, reviewing video and images, just like what we're seeing right here. CNN has obtained exclusive video of the suspect, Jabbar, loading that now infamous rented white truck. What can be learned from this video as investigators continue to review it and try to piece together all that preceded the attacks?
Yeah, I think they'll take what they've recovered both from the truck here at the Airbnb and also as a result of the search warrant at his residence in Houston. They'll take that down to Huntsville to the TDAC lab. It's part of the FBI laboratory. It's called the Terrorist Explosive Device Analytics Center. They have pieces of bombs from all over the world that have been used in terrorist attacks. They'll be able to see if anything matches any of the components there that they've seen. Sometimes they find things, but it seems now is not directed by a foreign organization directly, but self-radicalized over the internet. And so there may or may not be things there, but those are leads you have to cover to do a thorough investigation.
And we also now know that investigators are looking into this rare organic compound that has not been used in an attack in the U.S. What are your thoughts on this mystery material, how this person may have obtained it, what its potential actually is?
That's where the TDAC laboratory experts will come in, because if it's been used anywhere else in the world, they should have access to that, or they can send out what we call leads to U.S. embassies throughout the world where this may have come from. And through our legal attaché program, or the FBI's legal attaché program, they'll be able to work with host law enforcement countries to see where that source may have come from and what it is, and if it's popped up on intel agency radars around the world.
And that there are these so-called cooler IEDs, or what's being described as kind of cooler IEDs. Does that still substantiate to you that this person acted alone, or is there more to it potentially involving others?
Yeah, Ms. Whitfield, I think everything that the investigators have so far, and again, we're only 4 days into these investigation, point to him acting alone. And so that's why these non-visible parts of the investigation are so important as the media moves on and the public moves on and we mourn the victims that have died in this senseless act. The investigators are busy at work behind the scenes looking at all these clues, and they're trying to put a timeline together of his entire life, all of his associates, and put all these pieces of the puzzle together to make sure that there are no stones left unturned in this case.
And of course, we just heard the New Orleans mayor talk about reinforcements being put into place around the Superdome in time for the Super Bowl, just weeks away. What sort of changes do you believe, or modifications might be made, especially as a result of what just happened on New Year's?
Well, the U.S. government, through the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, have this critical infrastructure protection program. They work with state and local governments all the time, and so they'll take what's learned from this. I know the FBI and the DHS had a call yesterday with almost 6,000 state and local officials on the phone talking about this case, what they've learned, and what some indicators might be to keep their communities safe nationwide. And so they'll take some of that information, they'll give that to the critical infrastructure folks, and they'll take those and apply those to the Super Bowl plans if any modifications need to be made. I'm quite sure that it'll be the most secure, one of the most secure places on the planet coming up on Super Bowl Sunday.
All right, Jason Pack, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it.